My neighbors have a little black cat named Roger. Roger was an outdoor cat. He would often come meow at me before work, so I'd pet him. I liked Roger, and though he wasn't my cat, he almost became like a routine for me. I'd wake up and come outside, and Roger would be there. One day, Roger started acting different, and he's not quite being the same. He'd still came to visit every morning, but now it's different. Roger just started blankly staring at me when I left for work. I tried to pet him, but no reaction is made from him. I remember jokingly telling Roger, "Where'd my furry little friend go?" The next day, Roger did the same thing, staring at me with no shred of emotion whatsoever. I looked at Roger, and then went on with my day. The next few days were the same. Roger blankly stares at me. I leave for work. One day I wake up and shout at Roger when he sits there and stares at me. "Roger, why are you staring at me like that?" For the first time in weeks, I saw Roger get up and walk back to his owner's house. I thought I finally scared him away, but something far worse happened. I get home from work and Roger's sitting by my door. "Get back to your owner's house, Roger," I tell Roger. Roger gives me a loud meow, and I try to move him out of the way, but when I open the door to get in my house, he scurries on in. I try to scoot Roger back out of the house, but he's far too quick for me. I'll just give Roger back in the morning, I thought. I headed off to bed for the night. Roger followed me into my room and laid on my dresser. However, Roger did not sleep. Roger looked at me with his beaming green eyes for hours. I get up to use the bathroom. I stand there and watch videos on my phone for a while. I hear a loud scream coming from my daughter's room. I run to my daughter's room, and when I return, my daughter is beyond recognition. It looked like something had devoured her. I yell, louder and louder. Roger is not far behind me at this point. I look at him and shout, "You did this, didn't you? You took my daughter." Roger darts off into me and my wife's room. I run after him, but I'm too late. My wife has already been killed, and Roger's standing there across the bedroom. After a while, I hear silence coming closer. The cops burst the door and yell, "We got a call about a loud screaming from a neighbor." "He took my family." I point at the small black cat Roger. The cop looked at me confused and said, "That cat took your family?" I tell the officers yes, but after a long talk at the police station, I've been placed under physiatric ward due to insanity. I know it was Roger. Those eyes were the ones of those who hunt his prey. Lately, I've been seeing a small black cat around the med ward, and when I mention it, the nurses don't believe me. But I swear, I saw him. Roger already took my family, is now he's coming for me. Someone out there has to believe me. Believe me, even if no one else will. If I die here at this med ward, it is proof that this cat has more to it than you think. I never imagined that the loss of my dog would usher in a cascade of nightmarish, sleepless nights, slowly eroding the sanctuary of my mind with each passing day. It all began in the early morning in the forest. My tent stood as a sanctuary, a flicker of civilization. I had taken countless trips there, my loyal dog always at my side, sharing the same tent. It was our tradition, our bond. But that morning, an unsettling silence replaced his familiar wake up nuzzles. I was completely alone in my tent. The moment I emerged, the cold breath of the wilderness brushed my face. Open was the tent flap, a foreboding entrance. My heart raced, memories of my dog's past escapes flashing before me. He was a curious soul, often straying but always returning. Except now, as dread crept up my spine, my eyes fixed on a sight I never thought I'd see. Just a few steps away from the tent, my dog lay on the ground, motionless. My once beacon of joy and warmth, now a motionless corpse. Amidst a whirlwind of disbelief and sorrow, my thoughts, clouded for rationale, the suddenness of Max's death bewildered me. How had he managed to leave our tent and then just perish? It made no sense. Carrying the remnants of my once spirited companion, I settled him gently on the car's back seat. Each mile homeward was a journey through tears, the weight of memories tugging at every heartbeat. The swiftness of it all left me breathless, enough for warning. Nothing could have braced me for this. Once inside my home, I lay Max's body onto the floor, lost in this heavy fog of emotion. A haunting yelp from the recesses of my memory punctured through. My fingers, almost instinctively, grazed the dried residue on Max's snout. as if trying to comfort him. I hadn't even noticed the transferred saliva. Now, from that very spot, an eerie prickled sensation spread on my hand. I went and grabbed my phone, desperate to unearth any hint, any clue to the mystery of his death. Among the deluge of possibilities I saw on my phone, a name surfaced: Dr. Quentin, renowned for his expertise on animals and notably autopsies. Quentin was my best shot at discovering his mystery. When I finally mustered the courage to dial Quentin's number, he responded with a genuine compassion, suggesting an autopsy to, at the very least, sedate my burgeoning need for answers. The act of carrying Max's limp body, then gently enclosing him within my car, tore at my soul. Each movement felt like a peculiar thing. It manifests uniquely in each of us. When my mother passed away in a tragic accident, days became a blur, and every meal felt like consuming mere dust and shadow. But the aftermath of Max's death was different. An unsettling, relentless hunger gripped me, and it gripped me tight. It felt as though countless hungers writhed within me, each clamoring for its own fulfillment, like voices in a crowd, going louder and more desperate. Perhaps it was my mind's way of grappling with the loss, seeking some form of solace in the act of eating. I clung to the hope that the autopsy results might bring a sense of closure, though such a concept felt increasingly elusive. Can we ever truly find peace with the mysteries of existence? I began to doubt it. Oddly enough, despite my various eating, a gnawing emptiness persisted within me. My family, seeing my gaunt face and skeptical frame, whispered their concerns. To them, my drastic change was a byproduct of the pain of losing Mac. They weren't privy to the darker, more unsettling thought that haunted me: the idea that this insatiable hunger wasn't confined to my stomach. My eating habits turned peculiar. Foods I previously disliked now became obsession. Even worms I'd seen in the woods now had an irresistible allure. Late at night, I'd find myself drawn to their texture, often contemplating the thought of consuming them. The act of eating had transformed from pleasure to sheer necessity. Contrarily, even with my ravenous appetite, my body continued to wither. I became a recluse, shrouding in my house in darkness, drawing the blinds tight. The world outside faded to a distant memory, a blurry past, while my insatiable hunger became the deafening rhythm of my life. The rare occasions I did sleep, my sleep would be accompanied by nightmarish visions. The physical toll was evident. My complexion took on a ghostly hue, eyes sunken deep beneath dark shadows. The gnawing thought, as inscrutable as the unending hunger, tormented me the sleepless hours of the night. A piercing agony jolted me awake, its intensity unfamiliar and beyond comprehension. Frantically, I sat up, my breath caught in my throat as a chilling realization dawned. The source was within me. Every inhale felt labored as a gruesome reality, still clouded in mystery, enveloped me. My emotions, teetering on the edge of despair, culminated in a mournful cry, echoing the injustice, the torment, and the bewildering cruelty of the moment. In the midst of my weeping, a ring pierced the heavy silence, emanating from the phone beside my bed. It was Quentin's number, lighting up the screen. It was so late, so I was a bit surprised Quentin called me. He must have sensed the depth within my torment, knowing I waited a silver clarity through the line. Quentin's voice came, weird by the way of his findings. Sorry for calling so late. I just want to let you know the results are in. What is it? I asked, while trying to mask the constant pain I was in. The results disturbing, Quentin began with a weight in his voice. Xylaris tauroxy. Xylo what? I responded. The words felt like a jagged stone in my mouth. Quentin continued. It's a serious disease. I'm not sure your dog contracted it, but he did. The disease spreads relentlessly within the body, consuming whatever the host does. It can alter the host's behavior, compelling the insatiable hunger until nothing left remains. A cold shiver coursed through me, threatening to encase my very soul in ice. Gathering every ounce of courage, I asked, is it contagious? Quentin hesitated. It's highly contagious. Just touching someone or something infected, like your dog, can transmit it. Given that you've had contact with your dog, it's likely you're infected. And as much as I hate to say it, there's not much that can be done now. In sheer horror and disbelief, I threw my phone to the floor, not wanting to hear another word. The instant the phone met the ground, an agonizing surge of pain erupted from deep beneath me, feeling as though I was shredded from the inside. Body felt ablaze. Hour upon agonizing hour, I sat, silent tears and choked sobs being only my companion until an unfamiliar noise erupted. A soft, almost incomprehensible hiss, like a release of pent up steam. Eeriness grew as it began to vocalize. An unearthly voice dripping with malice whispered, "Hello, James. Was I officially descending into madness? Who the hell just called my name?" Oh, but this was anything but madness. It was the malevolent song of the disease, serenading me, eating away my essence, until all that remained would be a void. A chilling whisper, distinct from my own thoughts, began to speak. "I dwell within you," it declared, "and I have no plans of vacating. Your very core, this vessel you call a body, is now my domain. I feast on what you cherish, flourishing what as you wane. Before long, every fiber of your being, down to the hidden corridors of your physique, will answer to me. You'll be naught but a marionette, a voided husk." A sudden agonizing pain surged within my head, and then a clarity sent shivers down my spine. The disease, malevolent entity inside, delivered its final decree, an echo that would haunt me till my end. "I will consume you until you're nothing left." Duke is always a brave dog who will stand his ground and not fear anything. This is the type of dog that you wouldn't screw with either. He's a big dog, the type you'd see you'd soon kill you. My other dog, Charlie, we only let in our pen. We built a pen specially for our dogs, whereas my other dog, Duke, is allowed in our yard, as he's trained and won't run off. Charlie is a husky. He and Duke always get along. They never fight aside from playing of the course. They always are close and love each other. One day we let our dog Bruno out and he runs across the street. This is uncommon, but it has happened before. We are surrounded by forest and we have a long driveway, so once he is on the driveway, he is out of our sight. As usual, my dad goes across the street. He told me at this moment he knew something was up. He said he had a lifeless expression in a dog who was always smiling or showing some emotion. But we both noticed this was weird is the fact that Charlie seemed to be avoiding him, like he was scared. Keep in mind these are the dogs who usually spend all day together. Duke seemed to be gone from happy, brave dog to a lifeless dog who avoided people. This is the point where we knew, whatever this thing was, it wasn't Duke. Out of nowhere, we hear whimpering outside in the pen. We go to check it out, and we see Charlie bleeding a few feet away from Duke inside the pen. Duke's got blood in his mouth. We pulled Charlie inside and locked Duke out. My dad said to me, "You saw it too, right?" I nod my head. "What the hell has gotten into him?" my dad says. I tell him to look outside the window. Into the driveway, we see Duke, scared and whimpering. We look back out to the pen to see